My dad neglected me because he wanted a son instead of a daughter, so when he came to my front porch looking high AF and assaulted me, I sent him to the hospital. I, 17F, am not very close with my father, 41 meters, due to him not wanting to spend much time with me. When I was little, me and my mom, 39F, did lots of fun activities together and she always played with me and entertained me, resulting in us having a good relationship now years later, but whenever I try to get my dad to play with me or watch something with me, he'd be uninterested and tell me to go play with my mom. This happened practically every day, with me wanting to watch him work on his car or ask him to play, but he always pushed me off, and as I grew up, I believe that my dad just didn't like me, so I asked him to play or teach me stuff less and less. He would only do stuff with me on my birthday and holidays, though he always made sure I was fed when I was hungry, and if I was upset he'd comfort me, but other than that he would avoid me. Now to today, I was in the kitchen getting a snack and my dad was outside in the backyard on the phone with one of his friends. I could hear what he was talking about from the open kitchen window, but I was ignoring it until he said my name in their conversation. I listened in more and heard him telling his friend that he wishes he had a son more than a daughter because he never wanted a girl and didn't try to build much of a relationship with me because of it. It said he had tried to get my mom to have a second kid to see if he could get a son, but my mom didn't want 2 children at the time, so he just ignored me when I was able to walk and talk so he could focus on other things and let my mom raise me. I went to my room after hearing this and am writing this now. I want to tell my mom because how hurt I feel, but I also don't want to cause an argument between them since they are really close. Does anyone have a few suggestions on what I should do? Should I ask him about it or just tell my mom? Update 1. Later that day. My mom got home from work and I waited until she wasn't busy to talk to her. I asked her to come with me to my room, and once we both were in there with the door closed, I told her what I overheard and how I felt, not just about his hurtful words but also how I felt my whole life with how he treated me like I'm a stranger. My mom was quiet as I talked, and once I finished she hugged me and told me how she's really sorry and hugged me while telling me how I'm the best thing to ever happen to her and that it didn't matter that I'm a girl because she'd love me either way and that's how parents should be and she'd always be there for me. After a bit she went to confront my dad, who just admitted it. They got into an argument from it, which ended with him going to stay at my grandma's house for a bit. I'll add another update if anything new comes up. Edit. I forgot to mention, but my mom also told me how she's been doing her best to fill both roles of my mom and dad since my dad wasn't. Update 2 to 5 days later. My dad came home last night and my mom was hesitant to let him into the house, but he said he needed to talk, so she let him in. Me and my mom sat in the living room and he started apologizing for what had happened and was telling my mom and me that he regretted what he said and would step up to be a better father to me and to make things right. My mom told him that what he did was not acceptable in any way and that it's not a matter where apologizing will fix it. I then asked how exactly did he plan to make up ignoring me my whole childhood and not being a dad to me, and how I'm turning 18 in a couple months and then I'll be an adult and won't be a child anymore. I then said that ignoring me all my childhood and pushing me away because of what's between my legs was a horrible thing and I don't forgive him. He started apologizing more and had some tears in his eyes, which sort of surprised me, but my mom asked me to head to my room, so I did, and I could hear my mom saying stuff, and then my dad leave the house again. She came into my room after and told me that she would be not allowing him in our home anymore and gave me a hug before telling me that she texted his mom the night he left for a few days about what happened, and apparently my grandma tore into him about it and kicked him out, so he had to stay at one of his friends' house. Update 3. 1 month later. Hello all, it's been almost a month since my last update, since nothing much had happened with the situation until last weekend. If you want to know the full story, then look at my previous post, then come back to this one. I was home alone last weekend watching The Mandalorian as I was resting after being hit by a car. Story for another time, but I'm fine. And as I was laying in bed I heard knocking on the front door. I went to check and saw my dad standing there. His left eye was completely bloodshot looking and he asked to come in. At first I said no and said if he wanted to talk we could where we were at. He started apologizing for everything and then tried to guilt me into forgiving him and to try and get my mom to let him stay again, but when I said no he got a bit mad and started to rant about what's been happening with his life recently. I wasn't really interested and just waiting for him to back up so I can shut the door when he started to calm down a bit and then drop a bomb and said that he wasn't very interested in me growing up because I was not his kid. I was dumbfounded hearing that and asked what he meant, and he said if you were my child you would not be a girl, so you aren't my kid. I actually was shocked he thought that was how it worked and I was not his child because I wasn't born a boy. Like WTF. I started to tell him that he's an actual no-brainer if he thought that's how it worked, and that made him mad and he slapped me and started to yell, so I pushed him backwards and he fell off the porch, so I shut the door quickly and locked it before calling my mom, who immediately called the police and rushed home as he was yelling and trying to get the door back open. After a few minutes the cops showed up and he was taken in an ambulance to a hospital because the fall backwards broke his wrist. Then he was arrested for assault on a minor, since we have cameras that caught the whole thing on video. My mom had been comforting me the past week because I had to deal with that, and now we are okay. I probably won't update again unless something major happens, but I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has reached out and left nice comments on all of my posts.